Hello, I'm Christina Hill, and I want to thank you so much for visiting the fundraising page of Thibodeauxville, the story of the Thibodaux Massacre, race, riot, and resilience. This documentary that we're creating is indeed a passion project for my team and me. As a native of Thibodaux, Louisiana, I learned about this story somewhere in high school, but it wasn't in the classroom. It was merely folklore that some of my classmates passed down to me from the stories that they heard from their ancestors. So now I feel like it's the right time to tell this story and honor those who were killed on November 23rd, 1887, simply because they wanted a better life for themselves and their families. The 1887 sugarcane labor strike that resulted ultimately in what we call the Thibodaux Massacre is not one that's widely known, and it's certainly not talked about even in my town of Thibodaux, Louisiana, where it occurred. But I think it's time for that to change, not to rehash or open old wounds, but simply because this is not something that we've talked about much before. And I think sincerely that because we haven't talked about it, some of the things that we're seeing today are still are remnants of those past decisions that were made. And I firmly believe when we don't talk about history, we don't learn from history, we're bound to repeat history. And let's face it, like those strikers in 1887 who were demanding better wages and better work conditions, here we are today in 2021 hearing about livable wages, minimum wage increases, or the lack thereof, talking about whether or not a person is an essential worker, etc. So labor strikes and labor matters have been essential to the United States and the very foundation of our democracy. And yet, so few people know about this particular story. So, um, yes, I learned about this many years ago. It's a story that has stuck with me. And even before I had an inkling that I might want to be a filmmaker, even before I believed in my own abilities to be a filmmaker, this was a story that I wanted to tell. And now I believe that it is the divine right time to do so. And I believe that the right team has been put into place for me to accomplish it. So, on behalf of myself and my producing partners, Kimberly Wilson, Chelsea Charles, Davita Smith, and Jessica Kennedy Vickers, I want to thank you so much for visiting our page, and we hope that you'll support us in this endeavor.
Living on the bayou is home. Like, that's the only home I know.